Hey, what's up guys? Gonzo here for the FaceLikeTheSun YouTube channel. First off, I just wanted to make a couple quick announcements. One, if you haven't checked it out, go to canarycrynewstalk.com where we're posting at least once a week, but more likely twice a week. My co-host Basil and I are trying to publish a half-hour conversation about several things that are out there going on in the world. So check that out. Also, it's official. I can call myself an author. Revising Reality, A Biblical Look into the Cosmos, Volume 1 is out. And this was a project that I contributed on, which includes Douglas Woodward, Anthony Patch, Josh Peck, and a foreword written by Standeo. I think it came together really nicely, so please check it out, read it, and give your honest review. It would be great if you would leave reviews on the Amazon platform, and that way people can find out about it. You know, it's the kind of book that really bridges the topics of cosmology, physics, and things like that with theology. And it includes a lot of the, more basic fundamental things that we believe out here in the quote-unquote fringe about the Nephilim and the sons of God, Genesis 6, those areas, and how it pertains to this grander picture of how physical reality is constructed and how it operates with the spiritual dimension, how there seems to be holes that can be ripped between the two worlds, and how that seems to be portrayed in several television shows, and how it all relates to what we believe is biblical prophecy, where the truth is actually way more stranger than science fiction. It's beyond science fiction if you really get down to it. And we embark on these topics with a rational mind, but with also a firm grasp of the scriptures as our authority and as the Holy Spirit being our lead. So it's really one of those books that I think can get someone who's even remotely interested in the subject matter a lot of information regarding these topics. So please, I encourage you guys to check it out. Go purchase the book. It supports us as authors, and obviously you'll probably hear a lot about it in the coming days and weeks, because I'll probably be shamelessly promoting it on this channel for a while, because again, I'm pretty stoked. It's my first time publishing a book in any kind of form. So I'm really grateful for Doug Woodward because he asked me to be a part of this project, and I was thrilled to be a part of it. So again, check it out. Revising Reality, A Biblical Look into the Cosmos, Volume 1, and super long subtitle, How Dramatic New Discoveries in Biblical Texts and Breakthroughs in Modern Physics Are Transforming Our View of the Cosmos. And again, forward by Standeo. It's awesome. Check it out. Some thoughts about the badselfeater.com thing, which I won't comment on here. I did express some of my thoughts on my Facebook page. But getting into the topic of this video, I want to connect some dots. And as I make this video, we're in the closing weeks of the election cycle, and I mean, it is chaotic. It is absolutely out of control. And it's weird because for the first time, I feel like I can look at what's going on with the election and not feel totally confused about what's happening, because, I'm not really into politics, so I haven't been following it on a very consistent basis, but, there are times like these where I feel it's an obligation to really look into it and figure out what's happening. But I see a connection to all that with these sub-stories that are not being talked about as much because of the whole craziness in the media right now over the election. Quietly, these other things are happening, and that's the kind of stuff I want to bring attention to in this video. Now, first off, let's keep in mind how Hillary Clinton continues to vilify the Russians, right?
Russia's hacked into a lot of things. China's hacked into a lot of things. Russia even hacked into the Democratic National Committee. Maybe even some state election systems. So we've got to step up our game. Make sure we are well defended and able to take the fight to those who go after us. As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and military responses. The
Russians are behind a grand conspiracy, etc., etc., etc. And, Putin has expressed his, support for Trump more or less. So it's really bizarre that this story would come out on the 13th of September, 2016. BBC News reports Russian hackers leak Simone Biles and Serena Williams files. And basically, the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, has condemned Russian hacker for leaking confidential medical files of star US Olympic athletes. And really, they're playing it off as not a big deal. Simone Biles has ADHD, and so she's been taking medications for that, and she had some sort of exemption. And the leak also suggests that Serena Williams was granted permission to use a drug that was banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency. So maybe trying to expose some cracks in the integrity of an organization like this, which we've covered in the Truth About the Rio Olympic Games, and my thoughts about the World Anti-Doping Agency in conjunction with the topic of transhumanism, genetic culling, genetic testing, DNA databases, and all the stuff that they're building for the Agenda 2030 project. Now, the hackers called themselves Fancy Bears, and that alludes to, I suppose, Russia, because they were allegedly Russian, right? I find it very strange. This seems deliberate. This seems like it's placed on purpose to incite this sort of continued fear of the internet as it is now. You know, hackers can go wherever, like the World Anti-Doping Agency, and things can be exposed. It's just too much of a coincidence to have this sort of story come out right at the same time ICANN is getting ready to be handed over to the UN, which serves a really clear propaganda motive here. The World Anti-Doping Agency has very close ties and affiliations. Obviously, it's almost part of the United Nations system. So for them to be publishing something through the BBC that says, hey, we're under threat. Oh, those Russians, you know, the Russian hackers can really cause problems. This sort of propaganda will lead to the acceptance publicly of an internationally standardized internet. And the more I see this, the more I see the internet becoming the vehicle for global governance. It's really the tool that they had planned all along to create a single global system that is in the works. Now, the mention of Serena Williams as part of this leak by the hackers is an interesting one, because another major story that's out there is CBS News reporting IBM Watson serves new tech at the US Open. The story's been, repeated and parroted all over the place. You have the VentureBeat IBM Watson to offer supercomputing insights at US Open tennis tournament. Digital Trends, Watson makes its debut in the US Open mobile app, making tennis fans smarter than ever. Fox News, Tech, IBM's Watson makes US Open debut. The idea here is to create a cognitive concierge that each person can interact with through their mobile app and figure out where the restrooms are, where you can get food, how you can get rides there, all kinds of stuff that allegedly, we're incapable of figuring out. The way I look at this, it's like, great, supercomputers are here, Watson is here to help us. And where this is leading is humanity becoming incapable to figure anything out on its own and relying on the supercomputer as almost like a babysitter to watch them, to help them, to assist them. I see this sort of dystopian reality coming to fruition with some of these technologies as they become more and more disseminated into the infrastructure of society. Noah Sykin, Vice President of Global Sponsorships and Client Executive Programs for IBM, said, quote, "We're excited to introduce IBM Watson's game-changing cognitive computing power to the US Open's digital platform. Watson is revolutionizing the way fans can navigate the tournament this year. By tapping into unstructured data, Watson is enabling us to extract and apply insights that can improve how people engage with technology on site, making their experience more meaningful and natural." Did you catch that? Very interesting. Watson is there as a tool to analyze the psychology of a human crowd, like at a tennis tournament, just as much as this technology is being promoted to assist the human, right? These types of things have very much become experiments of social engineering right in public and with our full consent as the audience, as the public who walk into events like this and want to be part of the new sensation or the trend. And where I see this leading ultimately is still in conjunction with this greater New World Order agenda and the corporate interests and banking interests that are out there. Think about the internet and think about media. Think about entertainment media like music and movies and things like that, TV shows. The landscape for that entertainment industry has changed completely with the internet. Now, Netflix, which I shamelessly got recently, and I did watch Stranger Things, and I will probably be making some sort of video on it. And, other movie video platforms like Prime and everything else, there's tons of stuff out there now, and it's different. But the one thing that the major corporate powers still have control over is live television. sports being the central theme here. Live TV in sports, in the major sports, NFL, NBA, less so with the Major League Baseball and hockey, but it's there. Mostly football, mostly basketball. These platforms are still fully under the control of the corporate interests because they're live and because there's heavy licensing. They just have a very hard stranglehold on this part of the industry. And those are the areas, I believe, that we're going to see more and more of this technological integration and the New World Order agenda and system tied into the whole UN 2030 agenda. If you look at it, the types of goals that they have are being implemented through lots of technological means and platforms. I think we're going to start seeing more of this stuff where Watson, or maybe they create a next version of a Watson-esque supercomputer that helps the NFL at all NFL stadiums or NBA arenas. And when you take into consideration the virtual space, the virtual realities that we are beginning to access through things like Oculus Rift, it changes the dynamic of how sports is experienced, and that audience can be very easily manipulated to continue to purchase the technology in order to keep up with the entertainment that's being presented, especially in sports. I mean, if you think about it, sports has always been the excuse to buy a bigger and bigger TV. At least where I come from, people always prided themselves in having a large TV, and that was the mark of success or whatever. And that you're supposed to watch football on large TVs, and that's why you go to these restaurants or bar type places that have these huge TVs to watch sports and whatever. So it's always kind of been there, and I think there's a connection here with sports in general, with the New World Order system through the United Nations and their agenda, with the transhumanist agenda, with the politics that we started with here. It all connects. It's all one big web of chaos, and it's one entity behind the whole thing, and that is the enemy. That is the fallen one who knows his destination in hell, but wants to take as many souls as possible with him. So don't fall for it. Let's stay watchful of these things, keep exposing it, and think about how we ought to operate in the world as disciples of Christ in these very interesting times. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless.